Live from Hollywood, it's Paranormal Tonight. I'm Mark Summers, and now, here's your host, Dan Harari.
Hello, everyone out there in podcasting land. How are you? Thank you so much for joining me tonight. This is my very first podcast live from Hollywood. It's Paranormal Tonight. And my name is Dan Harari, rhymes with Ferrari. That's how I remember it. A little bit about me. I've been a Hollywood publicist for just over 40 years, and I'm the author of 2 books. You can see them to my right over here. Flirting with Fame, which is about my Hollywood and show business career, and After They Came, which is my book about science fiction book about benevolent aliens who come to Earth and save mankind. And I hope they come soon because I think we could use them. I'm also the chairman and the co-founder of the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance, which is a new group based in Los Angeles that brings together Hollywood storytellers with UAP researchers and experiencers. I've been very proud to have co-created that new project. I'm broadcasting to you tonight live, actually from my office, Asbury PR agency office, Beverly Hills, California. Okay, so I know I lied in the title of my show. It's not exactly Hollywood, but Beverly Hills, right? Pretty close. Okay, so give me a break on that one. Before I start tonight's show, bring in my first guest, I'd like to thank a few special people. First, thank you very much, Margie Kay, the owner of the UnX Network, and my producer, Race Hobbs, for giving me this amazing opportunity. I'm very grateful. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, my friend Kurt Doty, for designing my show logo and the opening video montage you just saw. Thank you to my friend Mark Summers for that voiceover introduction. I actually met Mark Summers on the very third day I was in LA ever, October 1980. The third day I ever was here, and we've been friends ever since then. And finally, I want to thank my daughter, Anjali. I know you're listening and watching. Anjali, you're the light of my life, and I love you. Thank you for everything you do to help your old father. Tonight, I'm thrilled to introduce my very first guest ever on this podcast, actress Dee Wallace. Dee and I have been friends for well over 30 years. She has starred in almost 300 films and TV shows during her very successful show business career. We all remember her, of course, as Mary, the mother in E.T., as TV reporter Karen White in The Howling, which I just watched the other night for the third time, and I absolutely love that movie, and as Donna Trenton in the scary film Cujo. Dee is also the author of 7 books, including one called Born, which you can see to my right here, and we'll be talking about that book a little bit later. And Dee also offers her clients private healing sessions and has spoken at live events around the world on the topic of conscious creation, which we'll be discussing soon as well. So, okay, Race, let's bring in Dee Wallace, one of my all-time favorite people on the planet. Hey, Dee, how are you?
Hi, handsome. I'm so excited to be your first guest.
I know. Go gentle. Please go gentle.
We go back so far. I've got so much dirt on you that...
Oh, my God, please. My daughter's watching, so let's be careful here.
Probably mine, too. So
I hope so, too. Well, thank you so much, Dee, for doing this for me. I really appreciate it. There's so many, I don't know if you could see all the comments we're getting, but people all over are saying, yay, Dee is here. It's so cool.
Thank you.
Someone says, I had a childhood crush on Dee back in the 80s, so that's so cool.
Yeah, it was that leopard dress from E.T.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
How about the howling with your little nighties that you're wearing in there?
Yeah, that's true. Not very sexy, but...
It worked. Hey, it worked for me, Dee. All right.
Okay, well, that's... Spill the tea, Dee. That's funny. Very funny.
All right, so Dee, I have 10 questions for you. I've put a lot of thought into these. I'm going to read them because I don't have any memory left anymore. And let's get through these and let's have some fun. So,
okay.
Here's number 1. I know you're about to celebrate your 300th film or TV show appearance any minute now. So congratulations. That's an incredible milestone, 300.
Indeed.
All the years I've known you, we've never discussed E.T. really, Dee. So How did you get the part in E.T.? Any funny stories behind the scenes? I know you told Drew Barrymore that E.T. caught fire once and Steven jumped on him to put E.T. to
That's
fire.
true.
And
Everybody froze, and the leader threw himself. It was just a tiny little one, nobody was really hurt, but everybody froze, and Steven just threw himself on top of it and put it out.
I would do anything. I would, if anyone had a home video camera at that, for that, boy, that would be valuable.
Yeah, I wish I could make a lot of money on that now.
I know. All right,
But
so
you know how I got the part
Yeah.
is a Hollywood story in itself. I auditioned for used cars and didn't get it, but Steven works very far ahead. He's always working, sometimes years ahead. And E.T. was already in his consciousness, and this is a story I got. He knew that he wanted all the adults in E.T. that were seen to be childlike and vulnerable.
pick the right one.
So he just saved that role for me. And when it came along, they called and offered it to me, which, as you know, doesn't happen very often. And it's a real Hollywood story in itself. Huh?
That's great. I never told you this, and this might blow your mind, all right? I worked at Columbia Pictures in New York City in 1980 in the PR department. And the first thing I had to do there was the movie Used Cars, which you did not appear in.
Yeah.
I had to promote used cars in New York City. My boss brought in a bag of dipsticks and spark plugs and engine parts, all covered in grease and oil. And I had to gift wrap those items with tickets to the premiere screening of Used Cars. I'm in a suit and a tie. I having commuted from New Jersey on a bus, and I'm gift wrapping used car parts to critics in Manhattan, and they
It's
sent
kind of a clever idea, but
they sent them back.
Representation of how glamorous our business is.
It was my first job in show business. I said, "This is Hollywood. Not for me. Not for." It was my very first job in Hollywood.
And yet here you are.
I persevered. What was it like for you walking around town and just doing your life when E.T. was the biggest movie in the world? What was that like?
People ask me that a lot about my entire career, and I have to honestly say, Dan, I don't attract crazies. Never have. No matter what movies come out, the only time people really recognize me is when I have absolutely no makeup on in the grocery store. And always somebody comes up to me and goes, Are you Dee Wallace, or are you an actress? It's pretty funny, actually. But I just, I know I'm very well known for that part, but people don't come up and bother me. I think there's kind of a reverence for that movie, that people honor it so much that there's a distance of respect there.
Absolutely. When that movie first came out, I was dating my now ex-wife, and we stood in a long line at the Cinerama Dome.
So did I.
Really? We were probably in the same line.
We probably were, because the only time I'd seen it before that was a screening with all the what we call suits from Universal.
Sure.
And of course, when all the suits are there to watch and judge it, nobody makes a comment or nobody laughs, or what if their boss feels a different way, So I ran home to my husband, Christopher Stone, and I said, "Oh my God, I think they hate it. I think my career's over." And he said, "Get your coat. We're going to go see it with an audience."
Right.
And of course, people were laughing and screaming and crying. And he looked at me and he said, "What do you think now, honey?" He was so smart. He'd been in the business a lot longer than I had. So
That was wonderful. I remember the first time ET showed up on screen. Everyone jumped out of their seat because we didn't know what the little creature was going to look like.
yeah,
You know,
I remember the first day on the set. I walked in, and to my right, there was ET with about 5 guys around him talking about something. And I stopped in my tracks, Dan, when I saw, and I walked over, and it was like he was real.
wow.
It was like I always felt like I was acting with another person, and that's no BS.
I believe you. It was wonderful. What a wonderful film that was.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. Moving on. I recently recently created the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance, and I know
Yeah,
that I've asked you to join. Thank you. You're one of our members. We have about 100 members around the world now, and
awesome.
the HDA is bringing together Hollywood storytellers with UAP and ET experiencers and researchers. So I have to ask you this question, which I've never asked you, but have you ever seen a UFO, or what do you think about extraterrestrial life? And do you know about what's going on in Congress lately? Do you think that they will provide disclosure to the world anytime soon?
Well, those are 3 very loaded questions.
However you want
No,
to answer.
I have never had an experience with a UFO, but I'm a channel. I'm a clairaudient channel, and I used to work a lot with Dolores Cannon. And she and I would trade information that we received about extraterrestrials. And I love that you have the same take on, Hollywood loves to portray them as these scary creatures who are here to take us over. And it's really the opposite. Stephen really got it right. They're friendly, they're kind, they're here to help us, to guide us, and they have strict rules that they can't interfere with our own creation.
I think that's great.
So, yeah, so I think that's a wonderful, healthier concept of extraterrestrials. And truthfully, God knows what Congress is going to do about anything. I don't think they know. But we already know. I mean, there's already been proof. We know that.
Right.
We know that there's been sightings. We have case histories of people that have come forward where they have dealt with extraterrestrials. So for me, there's no question in my mind that they're already here and that they are here to help us and support us.
Well, that's wonderful. My book, After They Came, which is right here, came out last year, and it's
Yeah.
Science fiction. It's about 2 benevolent aliens, man and woman, who come to Earth
Yep.
to solve all of man's problems. And like you said, so many Hollywood films and TV shows, they're either here to kill us or to eat us. There's a famous Twilight Zone episode called "To Serve Man." I don't know if you ever saw it,
Yes.
but don't get on the ship. It's a cookbook. Do you remember that? It was
I
called,
do.
yeah,
Actually,
To
we
Serve
watch a
Man.
lot of the old Twilight Zones, and we saw that one about a month ago.
Yeah, it was one of the best episodes ever.
Yeah, it is. It's great.
Okay, number 3. We're moving right along here.
Right along.
How did you meet your late husband, Christopher Stone, on this TV show Chips? / what was it like working with him on The Howling?
Oh my God. All right. Well, you knew Chris.
I did.
You knew how funny he was, how kind he was to everybody. yes, the director on Chips had worked with both of us in different things. And so kind of called and said, will you do me a favor? And so we both said yes. Well, Christopher, of course, I was pretty new in the business, and Christopher decided he needed to direct me.
Really? Okay.
Like the whole episode. And finally, I turned around to him and I said, dude, you know, I just had a great guest star role on Lou Grant, and he changed like that, Dan. He said, oh my God, you were that hooker on Lou Grant. And I said, yeah, I was. And he went, oh my God, I called my then ex-wife in and I said, you got to look at this girl. She's going to be a big star.
Wow.
And I said, well, how interesting. Do you think you could stop directing me then? That was back in the day, remember, when we had beepers and you had answering services, and they were never supposed to give out any personal information. But Christopher get gold out of a beaver's butt. And somehow he talked them into giving them my address. And by the time I got home from the set, there were 24 roses waiting for me.
Wow. He wanted you.
And he called me because he got my phone number from somebody and asked me out. And I said, oh, I can't go out. Well, I could go out Saturday. He said, oh, I've got a big poker game with my guys every Saturday. I said, well, call me again sometime. We'll see. And there was 1 second delay, Danny went, all right, never mind. I'm not going to the game. I'll pick you up at 7. And that was the last time, pretty much, that we were ever apart.
And then a few years later, you did The Howling together.
Yeah.
What was that like, working with him on The Howling?
Well, look, we had a lot of fun between takes, okay?
You were in bed a lot
we were in bed on screen a lot, yeah. And we shared a trailer. I'll leave it to everybody's wonderful imagination out there. We had a ball anytime we worked together. Oh, one of my prettier pictures from The Howling.
That movie is so hot. That picture is so hot. I love that picture.
Oh, you are so sick, Dan. You're sick, dude.
I know.
But when I did that scene, Joe Dante, our wonderful director, said to me, well, I don't want you to strip your voice or anything, Dee. We'll lay in the scream. And I went, well, give me a shot at it. Wow. So that's my real scream. And then they just echoed it. I was very happy about that.
That's great. I've seen it 3 times. I saw it 2 nights ago, and I couldn't wait.
It really holds up, doesn't it?
I love that movie.
Yeah.
Okay, the dog in Cujo, like the scariest animal. How did that dog not bite you? How did that happen?
Okay, first of all, there were 13 dogs that played Cujo.
Really?
And they were all trained to go after toys.
Wow.
So one of them had a toy for growling. One of them had a toy for jumping. One of them had a toy for digging.
Wow.
One, because, you can't overwork animals. Me, there was only one of me. You could overwork me. Cujo was absolutely the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Wow.
In my life, not just my career. And it's also my favorite movie. I just feel like I gave everything I had as truthfully as I could. Got hurt a lot on it. We actually had to tie their tails down because they were wagging them all the time. And, to get the foam, of course, it was fake blood, but then they would whip egg whites. They'd whip them up. And the camera would have to be rolling and we'd all have to be ready, because as soon as they put the egg whites on, the trainer would have to give them their command. Otherwise, they'd lick all the egg whites off.
Wow.
So it was a very, very challenging movie.
Well,
Very.
when I saw that recently, I was in that car with you and the little boy, and
Yeah.
I'm like,
Wasn't Danny
there's
Pintaro amazing too?
the two of you in that car. The whole movie is the two of you in the car
Yeah.
with this creature from hell salivating all over you. And I was so proud that you pulled that off when I watched
Wow,
that.
it was thank God for Louis Teague. I've had some great directors.
Absolutely.
Joe Dante, of course, Stephen Blake Edwards. I started out with Blake on 10 with Dudley Moore, you know.
You have some career, my friend. Okay, so speaking of dogs, we just did Cujo. Now we have to talk about the new Lassie. You and I met. Raysk, if you could put up that new Lassie picture, please. Okay.
Oh, look how cute we all are.
Dee, I met you and Chris that day. I was
Yeah.
the publicist for the new Lassie. This is the day I met you. I was standing to the right of Chris. And I was a little scared of Chris when he goes, "You are a publicist, huh?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "You better do a goddamn good job." And I'm like, humming.
That sounds like Chris. He was very, very protective.
He was.
Of me.
He was. He
Do
scared me.
You remember? I will never forget, Dan, the first day on the set. There was this big scene, and it all revolved around this dirty pair of socks. And Timmy, I think, picked them up and threw them to Wendy, and then she picked them up and threw them to Chris, and Chris threw them to me, and I threw them to Lassie. And the trainer goes, oh no, we can't do that. This dog can't catch anything.
Oh no, Lassie can't catch. Oh no.
I remember I stood there and I went, what?
Lassie.
And he said, well, then we found out that it was a direct descendant from the real Lassie.
I remember.
But she'd been a house pet all her life. So they'd only trained her for like 6 months. And she was a beautiful dog, but she just couldn't do a lot. So we had to, I called Albertan over and went, did we not have a production meeting or anything about this?
Dee, do you remember? This was my idea. You and I and the cast and Albertan, the producer, we rededicated Lassie's star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. You were there.
Yes.
And I was the publicist. It was my idea. So you were there. The cast was there. Lassie pulls up in a long white stretch limousine. I don't know if you remember. Lassie, the dog, gets out. We had press, Johnny Grant, the mayor of Hollywood. We had, I don't know, maybe 150 people. So, and I'm in a suit. Now, this is my gig. I produced this. I looked down at the star, Dee. And the original Lassie star was from the 1950s. I looked down at the star. There was a big piece of bubble gum on the letter L. So it looked like Assie.
I don't remember that.
It said Assie. And we had all this press, you guys, the cast, the producers, Assie. So I got on my knees with my car key.
I'm sure you did.
A true story. It's in my book, Flirting with Fame. I scraped off the gum so it said Lassie instead of Assie. That's my greatest Hollywood story.
Oh my God. Well, it kind of suited her or him.
Yeah, he couldn't even catch. What kind of dog is this?
Oh my gosh.
Are we talking about?
And the next episode, remember, was with the basketball and shoot. Oh no, you can't bounce the basketball around Lassie. So we would have to shoot Lassie like she was in the scene before we did any of the scene. It was funny.
We had mentally challenged Lassie. That should have been the name of the show. Mentally
challenged.
Well,
I think for only 6 months training, the dog was awesome.
Yeah.
But
all right, Race, I think we have commercial time. Yes. to have a little break. Let's take a little break now, Dee. I have more questions. Thank you, everyone. I see all my friends writing to me and Dee. So a little break, and then we'll be right back.
Are we alone in the universe? The most important question facing humanity is on the verge of being settled once and for all. The Mutual UFO Network has been at the forefront of this journey for nearly 50 years. Our members worldwide are dedicated to the research, documentation, and awareness that will shape the future of humanity. Won't you join us?
Okay, everybody, we're back from our little break, and let's get Dee back on there. Unless she ran away and fled for her life. Oh, there she is. Hi, Dee.
No, I didn't flee for my life. I didn't even go pee.
Okay,
Yeah.
next, here we go. Last year, you were kind enough to introduce me at Book Soup, the bookstore in West Hollywood, for my book signing for my book, Flirting with Fame.
Yep.
And I greatly appreciate that. It meant the world to me that you did that for me. And then afterwards, you left me a present on my car, I remember, and it was your book, Born, which I've read twice. And this is a must read.
Did you learn something, Dan?
Well, I learned theory about how to make your life great and wonderful and better and find love and all that. I haven't been able to pull that off, quite frankly, but I believe everything.
Now, wait, all right, just stop there. That's BS. You've got the first episode of this great new show that you've created.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so that's really up for all of us right now. We need to acknowledge our gifts. We need to acknowledge how great we are. We need to acknowledge everything. You've written 2 books, Dan. Come on.
I have 2 more coming out in May.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so you haven't created a great life at all.
Well, I created a great daughter. I will say that. She's over there in the comments.
Me too.
I've done some good things.
For sure. And you know, I think that during the break, I was testing to see if there was a message that the extraterrestrials would want us to know. And the message that came through is love yourselves more. And the more you can love and trust us, the more we can make our presence known to everybody. So there you go.
That's wonderful. That's terrific. In your book, Born, Dee, you wrote something that really was remarkable. You said, You spoke to your father after his suicide through a
Yeah.
light that entered your bedroom. Now, my dad passed in 2017, and Dee, he contacted me 5 times after he passed. 5 times.
Yep.
Each one was very, very obviously him, and each time he gave me a message, so it blew me away. Tell me about your experience with your dad after he passed.
Well, my bed, my room was a sleeping porch. So there were windows on 3 sides. And on that wall over there was a mirror. So I was laying on my side and I saw this light in the mirror and I thought, where's that coming from? All the shades are down because you could see the lights from downtown when my shades weren't down. And I turned back and the light left the mirror and kind of hovered in the middle of the room. And it didn't scare me. That's how I knew it was real. It wasn't like a scene from one of my movies, you know? And I didn't hear it like I hear your voice, but I heard the vibration and understood it. And basically, he said, look, it's not your fault, button nose. That's what he used to call me. I'm where I'm supposed to be. I'm okay. Your job is to go on with your life and be happy. And then it went back into the mirror and poof, went away.
And now how
I got a lot of messages when I was young, as a lot of kids do. You know, we say, oh, isn't that cute? It's their imaginary friend. But they're really channeling and hearing information from the other side. What did your dad say to you?
Well, I'll tell you that in a second. How long after your dad passed did that light come to you?
2 nights, I think.
A few nights?
2 or 3 nights.
Okay. My dad passed on a Monday morning. That Friday, I had to go to Silicon Valley for a client. That Friday night, I was in a hotel in Silicon Valley sleeping, 3 a.m., fast asleep. From underneath my bed, I heard, as loud as I'm talking right now, Danny, Jeannie changed my will. Now, my father's wife was Jeannie, his second wife. And that was my father's voice. My mattress shook. It vibrated. I got out of bed and I looked under the bed to see if my father was under the bed.
Yeah, I believe that.
Danny, Jeannie changed my will that loud. I called my brothers. We called a lawyer. Long story short, my stepmother changed my father's will. Nobody knew. My father had Alzheimer's at the end. Nobody knew until he told me after he passed 4 days later. So there's stuff that happens on the other side, man. I know it.
Oh, absolutely. And I can tell you all the stuff that we carry on this plane, they just let go of. It's just love. It's just understanding. It's just kindness. All the petty stuff that we worry about, gone. It's just gone from the other side. That's very interesting that he gave you that information.
Yeah. And then a few days later, he turned on the light in the middle of the night. And then a few days later,
yes,
he played with my little drum set, played the cymbals in my little drum set.
Wow.
I've seen him.
After Christopher died, years later, I was getting ready to get remarried here at the house. And I looked up and I said, Chris, just give me a sign that this is okay with you. And do you know, every clock in my house stopped at 4.
Wow. Really?
Every clock stopped at 4 p.m. And that's when I was supposed to walk out to get married in my backyard.
Wow. He was there. He was a good guy. He really loved you. I saw him look at you.
Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah. And vice versa.
In your book, Born, you discuss how spirituality, religion, and brain science all concur with each other when someone wants to create their own life.
Yep.
And then you say love is very important to get what we want. So what do you mean when you say everyone should have a love affair with the universe?
What I mean is, most of the time when we want to create something that we don't have, we don't like it. Like if you don't have enough money, you don't like money because you don't have it. When you're looking for a relationship, usually we're going, I don't want a relationship like my mom and dad or the asshole I was with 2 years ago. So what that means is, whatever you want, love it more. And the biggest, oh, I love you too, baby. The biggest thing we can do with our lives is to love ourselves unconditionally. And we are always taught the opposite of that, Dan. We're taught that we're full of ourselves and God won't like us and other people will judge us if we love ourselves. And I'm telling you, it's the secret to creating anything that you want in this life. Love yourself enough to give yourself what you want. And, sir, acknowledge how great you are.
I like to see my life like how Woody Allen once described it. Woody Allen once said, I don't see life as a glass half empty or half full. I see life as a glass half full of poison. So that's the Jewish East Coast guilt and lack of self-confidence. But, a glass half full of poison. So
okay, well, I'm just saying, you're the only one in charge that can rewrite that.
I know. Boy, listen, I've been working on it for 67 years, my friend.
Born is literally the formula for creating and manifesting anything you want. And once you know the formula, it applies to absolutely everything you want to create. I created my daughter that way. 6 specialists told me I would never have a baby. I said, thanks for sharing. God and I have a different plan. She's 35 now and just brought my first grandson into the world.
I know.
I created ET that way. I have clients, just finished working with a client who had stage 4 cancer, who's cancer-free now.
Wow.
But we have to accept our power in that creation process. We want to give it to the rabbi or the preacher or the guide or the angels or the doctor or, and they can all be a part of the creation, but we have to know what we want and we have to commit to it and we have to feel love around it. And then the universe has a love affair with us.
That's terrific.
I kind of got on my Baptist preacher thing there, didn't I?
No, that's great. I loved every minute of that. You call yourself a clairaudient. So what is a clairaudient?
It means you hear. I hear the messages. I hear the guidance. I like somebody in a private session can call and go, okay, I've been trying to create this. I don't know. I think I want it. And I can tell everybody, this is a real quick way that you can get clarity. Think about what it is you want to create. And then go back to your childhood and write down everything you were taught, either verbally or what your parents modeled in front of you. And write down every message you got. And you'll see what you have to rewrite and redirect in order to create it what you want. For example, and I adore my grandma. She really raised me because we were very poor, and mom had to work all the time. But I remember my grandmother saying, they're the rich people. We're the good people.
Wow.
In other words, if you have money, you can't be a good person.
Right.
And so cut to when I'm 32 years old and just starred in the biggest blockbuster of all time, made more money than my mom and dad made in 10 years. And I went, oh my God, I'm one of them.
Wow.
And it took me a year and a half to really embrace and stand back and go, wait a minute, that's not my belief. That's her belief. And I don't believe that anymore.
Wow. When you hear from whoever or whatever you're hearing, is it, I've heard maybe 5 times in my life a voice talk into my right ear like there's a person next to me. Oh, it's only happened 5 times, but I hear it externally going into my ear. When you hear from the universe, do you hear a voice or do you have a thought, or how does that work?
No, it's more like an energetic hit, but it's definite information. Like today I was doing a private session. I do probably 4 a day.
Wow.
And I heard right away, this goes back to her mom, and it started around 3 years old. And then I heard the word dance. And I said to her, okay, around what we were working on, I said, what does dance have to do with this? And maybe your mom, when you were a little, she broke out into tears. She said, oh my God, Dee, I don't believe you said that. When I was a little girl, I wanted to dance. I wanted to take dance lessons like my best friend. And my mother said, no, you're not going to spend time doing foolish things like that. You study hard so you can make something out of yourself. And so what does that say to a little girl? Oh, I can't trust myself to have fun. I can't trust myself to follow my instincts, to follow my desires. And then she's wondering why she wants to write now and she can't write. She said, I know I want to write. I know it gives me joy, and I just can't do it. Why can't I? Well, because her little girl and our little kids are running the show, Dan. They are.
I know.
They're trying to keep it safe.
I know.
Her little girl is saying, don't trust yourself. Don't trust yourself. If it's not hard and you're not struggling, you shouldn't be doing it. Now, how many of us bought into that? I did.
Wow. Okay, let's lighten up the mood here a little bit.
Hey.
Okay. According to Wikipedia, your first credited film role was in 1975 in the movie The Stepford Wives. Is that correct?
Sounds right. Yep.
So, Dee, are you aware that next year it'll be the 50th anniversary of your career in show business? Next year, 50 years.
No wonder I'm tired.
You've been working for 50 years, my friend.
My publicist,
Harlan, great guy.
Harlan, beautiful. And by the way, he did send me all the stuff. It went to spam.
No, I know he did.
I need to tell you that.
I know he said it.
Oh, okay. I'm either old or iconic, and I choose the second one.
Oh, absolutely. You are.
He told me last year that I was close to my 300th film credit.
Right.
Film TV credit.
Right.
Which was more than any other living actor. I don't know if that's true, Dan, but I'm owning it. I'm owning it, baby. And I've got 3 films coming out. I've got 2 films booked to be shot this year so far. So I'm like the little Energizer bunny, and I figure as long as I love it, I should do it, right?
Well, you're going to hit 300 this year. It's going to happen this year. That's Mazel
Yeah,
Tov, as they say in
thank
France.
you.
Okay, so you've met or worked with everyone in show business. What were some of your favorite roles? And did you ever pass on any roles that later became, you said to yourself, oh God, I wish I had taken that one?
In the very beginning of my career, Ron Howard offered me, probably after auditioning, I don't even remember, and the girl from Cheers ended up doing it, and I always wish I had done it, but she was like a hooker or something, I think, and back then, you have to understand, I'd just gotten here from Kansas, and I thought, oh my God, my grandmother will die if I do this. So I passed on that. There were a lot of roles. Do you remember the movie of the week, Adam, about the little boy that was
Yes.
abducted?
Yes, I do, of course, because
I was finishing
his father, yeah, John
movie
Walsh.
of the week with Dom DeLuise, and it overlapped one day, and they wouldn't let me out,
Oh, wow.
and I lost that. One of my favorite roles, other than Cujo and the Howling and E.T. and all that, was a movie of the week called The Texas Cadet Murders. And I only had 2 scenes. And I remember my agent at the time said, well, you have an offer to do this, but I think you should pass. I said, well, let me read it. I called him back and I said, how much do I have to pay them to do this role?
Wow.
He said, you want to do 2 scenes? I said, did you read them? Long pause. Well, no, I said, yeah, there's 2 scenes. Read the scenes.
Wow.
One of them was a 5-minute scene where these 2 policemen come in and tell me that my daughter's body had been found.
Wow.
See, here come the tears. Just thinking about it.
Right.
And I closed the script and I said, I can't even read this again. I can't learn the lines until I'm getting ready to go do this, because the minute I read it, I was right there. I thought, oh my God, if I ever have a daughter and that would ever, what would I do? And that, it was one of the highlights of my career for me, doing that little, everybody run out and see if you can find it.
What's it called? Tell us again, the title.
The Texas Cadet Murders.
Okay, that's a must watch. Wow. Okay. Well, speaking of speaking of daughters, you know, you and I both have a daughter. Gabrielle is a best-selling author. I
Yes.
understand. I don't think I've met her. Maybe I met her when she was very, very small, but
You did. You met her on Lassie.
I think so.
She came down every day, Dan, and we would get in that little golf cart.
Yeah.
And the first thing she would say is, Mommy, see big fish.
What's
She
that,
loved
Jaws?
going to Jaws and seeing that fish come out.
Wow. So that's so long ago.
Crazy. She was so little.
That's great.
Yeah.
So she just had little baby Stone. How is Stone doing?
Stone is fabulous and just laughing and giggling in a pure joy.
So what's it like?
And Gabrielle's book is Eat, Pray, #FML.
I told my daughter she needs to read that book.
Oh, it's brilliant. It's helping so many people in relationships. She and I are actually going to do a webinar together about relationships in February. I'm really excited about it.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's really great. I know that you teach people how to manifest goodness in their lives, and certainly you've done that with your career and with your daughter. Um, have some of your clients had some good success stories manifesting things?
Oh, absolutely. Like health and curing themselves of cancer. That's a
That's pretty
pretty big
big.
thing.
That's a pretty
But
big
yeah,
one.
I have a lot of people that have started businesses that they've been thinking about for 10 or 15 years. You know, I have a lot of clients that have created really beautiful relationships in their life. You know, the thing about relationships, Dan, is most of us are looking for a significant relationship to complete who we are. And that's not how it works. You want to be complete in yourself and then find someone who is complete in themselves,
Right.
their self.
Right.
And then when you come together, you are two complete people creating a relationship instead of, gosh, I need you to complete me. Are you rich enough to buy me a home?
Right.
It's a whole different perspective on why you want to create something.
Well, for me, with my romantic life, it's the U2 song. I still haven't found what I'm looking for, and I'm not getting any younger, D. So if you have any
Dan,
single
what you're
friends,
looking for
let me know.
is you.
Well, maybe so. That could be.
All right, I'll give you a free session. How's that?
That would be great. I'll be right over.
Okay.
I was at your house in the 80s, and you and I did something with People magazine, and
Oh,
I
I've still got it.
And I think, Dee, it was your story about how difficult it was to get pregnant with Gabrielle and how that worked out for you. Wasn't that the story in People?
Oh gosh, I don't remember. I can tell you there are some crazy pictures of Chris and I, but I think that was pre-Gabby, if I'm not mistaken. It's probably around ET, Dan.
Well, I met you in '89. When was Gabby born?
88. So maybe it was.
Yeah, I met you in '89. So yeah, it was. It was about your pregnancy situation.
Well, I'm
Um,
not pregnant there.
now you look damn good. That was at Monster Palooza last year.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it
I
was.
had the crazy beard, and you looked at me, Dee, and like you're thinking, who is this weirdo stalker? I go, Dee, it's Dan. She goes, oh my gosh, we hadn't seen each other in a few years. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's our
It
little
made me
reunion.
very happy.
Me too. Me too. I can't thank you enough for doing this for me
Oh, it was
tonight.
such a joy for me,
It
Dan.
means so
You
much.
know,
All my
you,
friends are like, you Dee, tell Dee we love her, and everyone loves you. I love you. You're universally beloved in Hollywood. My daughter wants to know, how was your first live from Hollywood? It's Paranormal Tonight experience.
so much fun. I can't believe it's been an hour already.
I know. I know. It went really
So
fast.
much more to talk about.
I'll be over for the session and we'll talk about the real stuff in private.
Okay, and you call me. I mean that.
That's very sweet. So if people want to get in touch, do they go to imdwallace.com?
Yep, that's my website. I'm all over social, Instagram and all that stuff. You can find me everywhere. But my website, especially if you want to know more about the healing stuff, I am deewallace.com.
You are. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Any plugs for any live appearances or films, TV shows coming up that we'll see on TV?
Well, not on TV. I've got a lot of films, 3 films coming out, and 2 more that I'm scheduled to shoot already on the books. And lots of conventions, guys. I think a week from this weekend, I'm going to be in Albuquerque
Are you going
at the horror convention there.
will you
So
be at
come see me. Got a
will you,
lot of great stuff.
will you be at Monster Palooza this year?
I don't know yet. I haven't gotten my schedule for the year yet.
Okay. Well, we'll all keep tabs on you on your website, and thank you again. And I think we have to wrap up. We love you. We miss you. I'll give you a call privately, and Thank you for doing
Please
this for
do.
me. Thank you for doing this for me. I can't
So
thank you
much
enough.
love to you, Dan.
Thank you.
And everybody out there, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Thanks. Tell Gabrielle I said hello, please.
I will.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight on the very, very first episode live from Hollywood. It's Paranormal Tonight. I'm Dan Harari. That was my girlfriend in my next life, Dee Wallace. And thank you for your questions over here. I didn't have time for questions, really. But next time I will go out of my way to try to work some of these questions in. Thank you, everybody, for watching and writing in the comments. Next week, my guest will be Stephen Bassett. Steve is my partner in the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance. He's been a UFO disclosure advocate for 35 years in Washington, D.C., and he's going to tell us what's going on in Congress with Chuck Schumer and Tim Burchett and the disclosure movement. So please tune in next Thursday, the 18th, 10 p.m. Pacific, 1 a.m. Eastern for myself and Stephen Bassett. And you can reach me at danharariauthor.com and hollywooddisclosurealliance.org. Thank you, everyone, and I'll see you next week. Thank you very much.